Okay, well, hello and welcome everyone to another edition of Taking Stock Live, where we do just that. We take stock from some of the greatest thought leaders, inspirations to me and my team from around the world. So welcome today to another session. I know this is going to be a good one. We've got a friend and a longtime partner, Ian Kahn, who is a partner at PwC. He's really leading front office consulting and transformation for some of the largest and most significant companies around the world. Ian and I both share a passion for two things, which are partnerships and relationships. And that's reflected. PwC itself has been around for 175 years. Ian has been at PwC for 25 years. He joined right out of college. We have been lucky enough to serve on the board of NRF, the National Retail Federation, together. And PwC itself is interesting because they are both a customer of Microsoft's, they're a partner and user of Microsoft technology, and of course, they deploy our capabilities all over the world. And as I was getting ready for this today, Ian, I read a quote. I had Copilot prepare my summary for me, and I read one of your favorite quotes is you can accomplish everything as long as you don't care who gets credit, which is exactly how I know you, Ian. So thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Wow. Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. And I like to start this show because people always want to know who the person is behind all the success. So maybe I want to take you all the way back, Ian, to your very first job, maybe, of course, before PwC.
Wow. That's a long time ago. As you said, I've been with PwC now for almost 26 years, but there was a time when I worked in restaurants as I was paying my way through college. And, that was a great experience. I always say you can learn a lot from the front lines. The pace is always fast. There's a great saying, right? If you can't take the heat in restaurants, get out of the kitchen. But I learned a lot, from that experience, the importance of communications with my coworkers and customers, and the universal truth that the customer is always right. So those lessons have applied to my career in consulting as well. Also learned a lot about food and cooking and wine. And those are good skills to have too. One of my favorite things to do is to cook a great meal for friends and family.
It's amazing. I think I haven't had one of your home cooked meals, but I would imagine as you do everything so well, it's top quality. And I too worked in restaurants. I encouraged my kids. You and I have talked about our kids over the years. I encourage them to go work in restaurants. It's you're right. The customer is always right. And when we're hungry, we get even more impatient. So it's a good way to be in the heat, as you say. So
True.
Now we'll fast all the way forward to today at PwC, where you've spent, I guess, almost 26 years, as you said. And you have spent time with CEOs, business leaders, really helping them develop and execute strategies to help their businesses transform. So hard question, but I know you can take it. What's top of mind for them right now, Ian?
This is a really interesting moment. There is so much happening, and many business leaders are focused on very significant change agendas. At PwC, we do an annual CEO survey. We see strong trends around leaders recognizing the need to not just change, but to truly reinvent their business models. And AI is a big piece of this. More than 30% of the companies that we survey tell us they're already seeing revenue growth, profit improvement, and productivity gains from AI, which is pretty amazing if you think ChatGPT was really released in late 2022. So in a short period of time, we've gone from that moment of new discovery to transformational change. And most of the leaders that I'm working with right now are focused on shaping and driving their own version of this big change agenda, which typically means rethinking their strategy. Questions like, do we have the right strategic vision? Is the talent ready to make this change? And when you think about the customer, not only can we win the first sale, but how do we foster meaningful relationships for the long term?
I mean, that is incredible, Ian. I have not seen your research or your report yet, but the fact that 30% are saying they've seen the business case value, profitability, revenue growth, et cetera, to your point, if I even reflect back just to January, that's where we were getting the most pressure is, how can we see generative AI in particular scale and in terms of driving the bottom or top line. And you're saying now CEOs are saying they're seeing it. So the pace is incredible. And there is a sense of urgency around it. So you talk about generative AI, but maybe let me go a bit deeper there in terms of what you're seeing, in terms of where AI is having the impact in the world and sort of some of the use cases where you're seeing the impact happen specifically.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many examples. And just to reflect for a second on the way you frame the question, I think we've gone from a world where our organizations have been focused on proof of concept to we now have actual proof points. The value is real, and it creates an incredible sense of urgency. So I'm an AI optimist. What we see AI unlocking new possibilities. In a lot of industries, we see what we call the power of augmentation, where human workers leveraging AI tools are up more than 50% more productive than similar teams without the AI tools. It's pretty incredible. In my own work, I couldn't imagine doing things the old way. I'll give you an example. One of my clients recently came to me with a question about a new market opportunity. They wanted our help to assess the opportunity. Leveraging co-pilots and deep research capabilities, we can reduce the time to insights for our clients from weeks to days. Sometimes it's hours. It's incredible. And so proof points like this, they cause light bulbs to go off. You have that aha moment. Leaders are waking up and realizing what is now possible. What happens when every person benefits from a highly effective AI assistant? When we have teaching assistants for every child, health advice when and where you need it, and heck, a fashion advisor before every first date. I could go on and on. This stuff is incredible. Where am I most excited? At the macro, healthcare and education. AI has the ability to fundamentally improve society. And in the moment, we're also driving AI into all of the aspects of the business that exist inside PwC, right? How do we serve our clients? How do we do it more productively, more efficiently? And we're making great strides. And I think maybe it even goes back to my days in restaurants, because one of the fun things that waiting tables and being a consultant have in common is that moment when your customer thanks you for a job well done. And one thing PwC and Microsoft share is we're partnering together to help our clients really create value with these AI capabilities, which is, it's so exciting.
And I mean, first of all, I hadn't heard the framing before, and I want to make sure I got it right, going from proof cases to proof points. But is that right? That what you said? Yeah, I mean, I love that because as you always do, it really summarizes, I think, a massive transition that we're making, in this era of AI. And then the points you're making, well, of course, it would be better to dress better for your first date. The points you're making in terms of healthcare and education, which are probably two of the most sort of fundamental human rights we have. Even when I talk to my own kids about, what this could be in terms of a tutor for every kid that's struggling, or a mental health, a therapist for anybody who is, needs someone to talk to. Like, that is underneath all the hype. I think a way in which it could transform everything that we see in terms of challenges in the world.
Yeah, and there's such great examples. Microsoft, you celebrated your 50th anniversary recently, and if I think about the heritage of your organization, you're really helping every individual to lead a better life with technology and all of that code that's been written over the years. How much AI is now transforming software development, education, healthcare, professional services. The potential is huge.
Yeah. And to your point on healthcare, I mean, and sort of going from from months to weeks to days in a diagnosis, in a medical diagnosis in cancer, for example. That's not just, that's not just, months, weeks, and days. That's life and death, being able to understand where you are, get the support you need. And so those transformations really are incredible for the world.
Yeah. And we're seeing new businesses are being created in these opportunity zones. These challenges that exist in society, in markets, this creates an exciting platform for new leaders and teams to emerge, to imagine solutions that never existed in the past. AI is giving us incredible abilities to process large volumes of data. We've already seen breakthroughs around things like disease detection, as you mentioned, turning healthcare much more into a preventative care approach, and super exciting.
And Ian, I know that another area that maybe doesn't sound as exciting, but I know you're passionate about and have done a lot of work with customers on, is around some of the streamlining of the back office and, even things like contact center, which sounds sort of big and corporate, but, the ability to make productivity savings there to then forward invest in sort of what the customer or patient experience might be. So would you talk a little bit about that piece as well?
Yeah, we think in terms of being fit for growth, and every organization has to take a hard look at operations, and it's important to take advantage of technology and and process capabilities. And when you look at the back office, clearly companies are realizing that. There are a lot of levers now to drive, efficiency. Some organizations are capitalizing on AI capabilities to achieve 20, 30, 40% cost efficiency. And what that's really doing is it's creating investment capacity to go after growth, right? New innovation, better customer experience, reinvesting in your workforce, training folks for the skills that are required to compete in the future. And those are all unlocking new possibilities.
Completely. And it's sort of like the two are so integrally connected, sort of unlocking the muck or the gunk, if you will, in the back office to lead for the change and innovation that will happen in the front office. You and I talked a little bit. I think one of the things that I really appreciated is you wanted to sort of pull all the way back and talk about leadership and sort of, in your words, maybe meeting the moment in terms of what's ahead. And you're always someone that I go to for, podcasts, books, important articles. And so about innovation, really. So maybe talk a little bit about how you think about leadership, and particularly leadership in this era where there's so much change all around us.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Shelley. I appreciate it. Driving change can be hard. And there are some wonderful examples out there, of highly impactful leadership. I was struck recently by a memo that a CEO circulated within an organization that really identified or created a call to action around approaching the business differently. And, there are a lot of different ways to lead your organization forward. But one thing that is really clear to me is that sitting on the sidelines is not one of them. And I believe leaders need to be in the game. They have to be on the field with their teams, modeling behavior, thinking and acting differently. And we see a few superpowers emerging. One of them is definitely around learning, right? Do you have a learning organization? And can you drive change, right? Because you almost have to be able to throw out the old book and to start with a mindset that we are going to reinvent fundamental aspects of the business. And I think bold organizations are starting to do that, right? Where they're starting to take a clean sheet approach toward innovation, going after the hardest problems with the biggest upside, but also seeing results. Making AI intrinsic is really important. Baking it into everything you do. You have to give people the tools. Leaders have to permission to do things differently. You've got to model the behaviors. And I think you have to invest in it, right? Like one of the pieces of advice I would also give is that you got to create an investment fund that you can use to support the initiatives that are really going to make a difference for your business. You have to allow for some failure, but you got to identify those success stories and you got to, right? If you're not doing it, you're leaving money on the table. I don't think businesses can afford that right now. And I'll share just in my own work, Shelley, I've told you about this, but I lead a large business at PwC. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lead by example. I built my own AI assistant, which helped me to prepare for this podcast. In my consulting organization, I'm asking all my teams to create room around the table for an AI assistant, actually change the way we work as consultants. And I think the mindset has to be that the days of saying, well, it's too early, we're past that, right? We've got to start moving forward. This is the time for bold action. And I think that's the mindset that leaders at winning organizations have to have.
So many great nuggets there. I mean, just to recap, one is you said you got to be on the field with your team on this. I so agree. Two is being a learning organization. And three is the investment fund, the investment, really for the future. And I the sort of daily habits, like on your AI assistant. I mean, I have to force myself to do the same thing. Like there are times where, like, as you said, getting ready for this podcast, right? Like traditionally would have gone to LinkedIn. I would have done a Google search, on you and what you've done in podcasts, but I went to my Copilot. And my Copilot, really actually, I think pulled up the quote that you had shared and I learned a lot. Actually, I know you, I've known you for a long time, but I learned more about you and your history. And it actually, because it reached you and everything that you've done that might not have come up for me in another way. And of course, then, all the interactions you and I have had over the years. So it is sort of, I think that is, being on the field with your team, being a learning learner yourself, and then creating the investment for the future, just so incredibly critical. Have there been any, examples of, in your work with customers where you've seen that sort of, that leadership moment really, pop to the top?
Oh gosh, so many moments actually. We're with one client, and, the client has a very senior leader who has a background in technology and artificial intelligence, actually, and partnering with her to not just transform but reimagine a critical customer-facing function within this Fortune 100 organization. What an amazing opportunity to look at the impact that bold leadership can have when you challenge your teams, not just to make things better, but to make things the best they can be, not just to drive incremental improvement, but to create the best customer experience that is possible. That's why we think in terms of transformational leadership, but I think so much of our conversation, Shelley, is rooted in the fact that there are new possibilities now when you combine leadership, human ingenuity with these incredible abilities that AI is now unlocking for us. You can see some large brands that have history, like PwC and Microsoft, they're now tapping the new frontiers of value creation as a result. So pretty cool stuff.
Thank you for sharing that story and sort of, Fortune 100 company really rethinking customer experience. And I think you're right. Every time we hear about someone else doing it, there's a bit of FOMO. It really gets each of us to think like, what is something that we could not just be incremental about, but really think end to end. So, Ian, just sort of rounding us out, I like to finish this off with a little bit of fun. I call it my fun five. So now I'm going to ask you some kind of weird 5 random questions. Okay. So first of all, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
The weirdest thing I've ever eaten, and I say this as a foodie, I've eaten a lot of stuff, but I'd have to go grasshoppers in Mexico. So, big source of protein, adds a little crunch to your taco. Actually, surprisingly good.
Okay. Grasshoppers and tacos. I hadn't heard it. Okay. Yeah. Favorite superhero?
I'm going to go with Wolverine. A little bit dark, a little mysterious, but, really powerful and incredibly resilient. Wolverine.
I see that for you. Okay. Best invention ever?
Well, that's a tough one.
I know.
But I'll go with, since we're here on the same podcast, because, I think the podcast actually as a platform is doing a lot to reinvent in ways that are really positive. Great platform for journalists getting information and perspectives out there and conversations like this one. So I'm a big podcast fan.
I love that. I hadn't heard anyone say that. And I'll tell you, I agree. Like, for me, like getting out on a walk and, learning something in my ear and, whether it's personal or professional, I just love podcasts. Okay. If you could be a fly on the wall, who would you want to listen in on and why?
I'm a girl dad, Shelley, three daughters. I've got to go with Taylor Swift because she's a powerhouse, and I think we're all learning a lot from her right now.
I love her too. That would be fun. Probably Taylor Swift with your daughters.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and then fifth question. What would be your dream job and why?
Well, I'd be a professional basketball player. Love the game. As I think you know this about me, I'm pretty competitive. I love to win, and just really enjoy being part of great teams. But unfortunately, I wasn't born with the height or the athleticism. So consulting partner was like, a good enough close second. I have no complaints, but if I could do anything, I'd be a professional basketball player.
That's so cool. I didn't know that about you. Who's your team?
Oh, I'm a Celtics fan.
I would imagine you're Celtics. Kyrie and the crew. You're a girl dad. I'm a boy mom, and so being an NBA basketball player would pretty much be the frontier of coolness in my house. So we could do a little swap.
Next episode.
Yeah, there you go. There, next episode. Well, Ian, I knew this was going to be fun. I know it's an extremely busy time for you. And I learned so much listening to you. I do every single time I talk to you. And I just want to thank you on behalf of all the audience members out there for taking stock live, for taking time to take stock with me and share, really everything from how you got started, how you're seeing AI transform with your customers, and then sitting through some of my fun five. So thank you so much, Ian.
Thanks, Shelley. This was fun.
It was really fun.